Hello and welcome to Breakfast for Pancakes. I'm your host, PK Sullivan. This week's episode is the patron request from last month. Put it up on my Patreon and the patrons voted for a breakfast dish. Didn't get any more specific to that, I just gave them broad categories. So here today, I'm going to show you how to make Shakshouka. Eggs poached in a spicy tomato and pepper sauce. I absolutely love it. I think it makes great breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but my understanding is it is traditionally a breakfast food. So that is why I am doing it today. If you'd like to join the Patreon, you can do so down below, link in the show notes. The key to a really good Shakshouka is getting a rich, spicy tomato sauce and perfectly poached eggs. It can be a bit tricky with timing, and as you'll see, even trickier when you're trying to film it in a one-man film studio, but Shakshouka is awesome. It's easy to make at home, and you should really give it a shot. Ingredients: 4 8-inch pita rounds, 709 grams of crushed tomatoes, 2 large bell peppers, 4 garlic cloves, 15 mils tomato paste, 10 mils ground coriander, 10 mils smoked paprika, 5 mils ground cumin, 5 mils kosher salt, 2.5 mils ground black pepper, 1¼ mils ground cayenne pepper, 6 large eggs, 1 bunch cilantro, 50 grams feta cheese, and some olive oil that didn't make it into the shot. Start by roasting your bell peppers. Apply flame directly to the peppers, either with a torch or over the stove. I found the torch gets the job done faster and more effectively. My favorite way to char peppers, though, is on the grill. One day I'll show that. The goal when charring peppers is to completely blacken the outside. The blackened outer skin will rinse off easily, while the inner flesh will cook gently and develop sweetness you don't otherwise get. Take care to get into the nooks and crannies of the peppers. The torch is the preferred tool for charring peppers indoors because of its precision. Once the outside of the pepper is completely charred and blackened, stuff it in a paper bag and set it aside to steam as you move on with the recipe. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Mix together the coriander, paprika, cumin, cayenne, salt, and black pepper in a bowl. I know you've already washed your cilantro. Roughly chop it into leaves and stems. Thinly slice the garlic. A good sharp knife is important. A dull knife won't get the thin shavings you're aiming for. The knife should also be of a size where you have good, fine control over it. A clove of garlic isn't very big and you're making very small movements. I'm using a 6-inch santoku rather than my general use 8-inch. You don't have to be like Polly from Goodfellas and use a razor blade, but tell me if you do. I'd like to hear that story. Time to crumble the feta. Some cheeses, like feta and queso fresco, have tight curds somewhat loosely held together. They'll maintain a shape until pressure is applied. Then they simply crumble into small pieces. The best way to crumble these cheeses is to press down on them with the back of a fork. The tines will separate the small curds into crumbles. On to pita prep. Cut out a quarter from one of the pitas and chop that quarter into small pieces. Set the chopped bread aside and wrap up the rest of the pitas in tinfoil. By this point, your peppers should have had plenty of time to steam. Wash off the charred skin by running the peppers under cold water. Gently rub the outside of the peppers and the black flecks should just fall off. Remove as much of the charred skin as you can. This is one of the few reasons I like having a garbage disposal. The charred flakes can be a pain to clean up otherwise. Also, my wife is much cooler than I am and installed this awesome safety switch for the disposal. Back at the cutting board, treat your roasted red pepper like any fresh pepper you want to dice. Core it, discard the pith and seeds, then slice, and dice. The sauce in Shakshouka is typically smooth aside from the diced peppers. Puree together your tomatoes, chopped pita, and about a quarter of the diced peppers. It should take 30 seconds to a minute. Blending the pita in with the tomatoes and peppers adds starch to the sauce. This will thicken it the way a roux thickens gravy or cornmeal thickened the chili in last episode. Lastly, stage your eggs in individual ramekins. Yes, it makes for a few more dishes, but it really saves the hassle of trying to crack an egg into a hot pan. And this way, you can recover any bits of shell and toss any broken yolks before cooking. Toss your foil-wrapped pitas into the oven. They'll heat up as we cook the Shakshouka. Preheat your skillet over medium heat and add 30 ml of olive oil. When the oil is shimmering, add the peppers and sauté until warmed through, about 4 minutes. Then add the garlic and sauté, stirring frequently until the garlic is fragrant, about 2 minutes. Stir in the spices and let them bloom until fragrant, about 30 seconds. Before I add tomato paste to a dish, I like to drop a little dab of oil in the pan and let it get hot. Then I put the tomato paste on that, and it immediately begins to caramelize without sticking. Stir the tomato paste into the rest of the dish. Now add the puree of tomatoes, peppers, and pita. Stir to combine and scrape up any fond from the bottom of the pan. Bring the sauce up to a simmer. Reduce heat just to maintain a bare simmer. Let the sauce cook until it has thickened slightly. The sauce should still flow as you stir it and jiggle with the pan. Swiping your spatula through the sauce should leave a clear trail that slowly fills back in. Once you've reached this point, smooth out the sauce and use the back of a spoon to create small divots. These divots are the landing pads for the egg yolks. Don't worry about the whites flowing across the top. That's fine. With the eggs all in place, cover the pan and let the eggs poach until the whites are just set, but the yolks are still jiggly. This will take 4 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, pull those pitas out of the oven and slice them up into quarters. Back at the stove, check the eggs after 4 minutes. Determine how close your eggs are to done and replace the lid to continue poaching if necessary. When the eggs are done, remember, just set whites and jiggly yolks, remove the pan from the heat, and serve immediately. Shakshouka sort of occupies the same space as huevos rancheros. It's a spicy, tomato-based sauce with eggs. Serve immediately because those egg yolks are going to keep cooking and harden up. Use a wide spatula or a spoon to scoop up an egg with lots of sauce under it and around it. Transfer it to a plate and add a couple wedges of pita. Sprinkle everything with cilantro and feta. You'll want a spoon, but really that's just to load up the pita. The ideal bite of shakshouka is pita that's gooey from being dipped in the yolk, piled high with spicy tomato sauce and egg whites, then topped with the briny, creamy feta and crisp green cilantro. Something unexpected and special happens when the egg yolk and the tomatoes mix. The tomatoes are spicy and sweet. The egg adds a decadent richness that makes the whole dish melt in your mouth. It's transformed and elevated beyond its mere components. This is why you need to serve it immediately. The glorious part of shakshouka is mixing that runny yolk with the tomato sauce. You don't want to miss it. And the longer you wait, the harder those egg yolks get. When you have shakshouka for breakfast, you are living the good life.